Hi, listener. Here at Let's Talk Bitcoin, we're building a global network of correspondents able to contribute on-the-ground perspective when cryptocurrency-related information comes across their filters. If you'd like to join our global conversation, send an email with your name and geographic or cultural niche to apply@letstalkbitcoin.com. Just like Bitcoin, the only barrier to entry is your time and good work. Thanks for listening.
I'm talking with Timo Hanke. You are the lead developer for CoinTerra, is that right?
I'm the lead cryptographer for CoinTerra, right.
Welcome to Let's Talk Bitcoin. First, tell me about CoinTerra.
Well, CoinTerra is an ASIC mining manufacturer. It was founded in May of 2013. And we're shipping products since January and have by now shipped about 4,000 of our Terra miners.
Okay, and so as a developer, you write the software that runs the ASIC hardware that does Bitcoin mining?
Well, first of all, we developed the actual code for the ASIC that does the SHA-256 hashing and optimize it as far as possible. ASICs are actually built on a 28 nanometer process with global foundries. And of course, we developed also the whole system around it, including the boards, system, cooling, and software on the controller.
So you had a part in developing the entire machine from the hardware down to the code that runs it?
I myself had a little bit of contribution in almost any part, that's right. But I do not have a hardware background. I'm a mathematician. And so my main contribution was in the software, yes.
Okay, and so how do you prepare for a job like this? Have you ever done anything like this before Bitcoin or before you got interested in mining?
No, there's certainly not ever been any job like this before. Everybody involved in Bitcoin certainly knows how crazy the space is. And the mining business in particular is extremely fast-moving, and there's nothing like that.
Yeah, I imagine it must be kind of stressful when you're working for a company that manufactures ASICs because the difficulty of the Bitcoin network is constantly going up. People want to make a profit on their mining equipment that they buy, and so you have tremendous pressure to ship the product very fast. Is that right? But it still has to work, and it has to be good.
Yes, that's correct. The pressure is certainly there, and it's an incredible amount of pressure to deliver hardware, and we cannot afford to have any error in the process and come out with a product that doesn't work properly. And yeah, it's been a very crazy experience.
So what are some of the things that have gone wrong? Like what kind of problems does an ASIC manufacturer encounter?
I think we have, for the most part, avoided the very severe problems. In the space of silicon development, it's unheard of that a chip is basically developed and brought to a system within 6 months from conception to actually working silicon. And we could not do any amount of testing that silicon usually goes through. And so with that, we're extremely satisfied that our first silicon worked right away. So that's the huge potential problem that we avoided.
What can go wrong with silicon chips? Like, why wouldn't they work?
Well, if it was a more complicated chip, like a regular CPU, it's quite common that they don't work at first. They go through several rounds of production, actually. Silicon comes back, is tested, and then goes through fixes, bug fixes, and the second round of production. But actually, Bitcoin ASIC is not that complicated, so it is possible to, in simulation, test it enough so that your first existing silicon actually works.
Do you know of other ASIC manufacturers where they've had that problem, where they ordered chips and the chips were defective from the first round of production and they had to go through another round?
Maybe, potentially, yes. I don't know about any of these incidents, but there have been a lot of delays in the industry. I don't know what those delays exactly are contributed to, but it's possible.
So what else could go wrong when you're trying to make the end goal of making a machine that mines Bitcoins? Like, what are the other points of failure?
The other points of failure besides ASIC, well, a huge challenge has been to deliver the amount of power to the ASIC, because we're talking here about a single chip in our case, which consumes about 400 watts. That's substantially more than any big CPU or even powerful GPUs. So designing a board that can deliver that amount of power, reliable to the chip, and also cooling the chip is a challenge.
Okay, and so how are the chips cooled in the machines that you're working on?
We have a liquid cooling system. In our Terra miner, which now hashes at 2 terahash per second, we have 4 chips doing 500 gigahash each, and chips dissipate about 400 watts of power, and each chip has a liquid cooling head, and then the heat is exchanged through a radiator, and fans blow air through the radiator.
Okay, and so personally, I don't have a background in cryptography or math or computer science, but can you just explain for somebody who's non-technical, how do you optimize the actual code that the machine uses to mine?
That's a difficult problem. You have to, you can of course look at the algorithm, the SHA-256 as it's defined, but you will not find, if you just look at the algorithm, you will not find so many things that you can actually optimize. Of course, if you're trying to implement this algorithm in hardware, then a lot of new factors arise. You can think about how you actually lay out the cells, the transistors on the chip, and there's a lot of improvement that can be done there. You want to arrange them as compact as possible and as power efficient as possible. So that's a job for the hardware designers, for the people who do the physical layout actually.
Okay, and so before you started working with CoinTerra, had you been interested in Bitcoin? Had you been a Bitcoin miner yourself?
Personally, surprisingly, I've never mined a single Satoshi myself. Not before and not after I got involved with CoinTerra, but yes, I've been interested in Bitcoin for almost 2 years, or about 2 years before I even heard of CoinTerra.
Why not mine? Is there a reason for that?
I was more interested in the protocol itself and application side, the scripting system of Bitcoin transactions and what you could do with them and what kind of new applications you can come up with. I was not so much interested in the mining itself.
And one last question, where do you see Bitcoin mining going in the future? We've got a long way to go before the last Bitcoin is mined, and it just seems like the hashing power is going up exponentially all the time. The difficulty of the network is increasing. More people are trying to get into mining and maybe trying unsuccessfully to make a profit. What do you see in the next 5 years Bitcoin mining as a field looking like?
In the next 5 years, that's a crazy question to ask anybody in the Bitcoin space.
Okay, maybe in the next 1 year.
Could ask in the next 5 months, maybe. But anyway, it's extremely hard to predict, and I think nobody really knows where it's going. It's true, Bitcoin network difficulty is going through the roof. I think it depends on so many external factors, on Bitcoin price, adoption, maybe transaction volume, depends on what kind of role transaction fees will play for the miners. It will depend a little bit on the development of the hardware, how much it can be improved, but of course that is kind of predictable. So much can happen. It can. I think we're going to see huge data centers being developed, but I think we'll also continue to see individual miners mining in their house, because even though everybody has to pay its power, of course, but individual miners can still save a lot of money on hosting costs. So I don't think that decentralized mining will disappear anytime soon.
What about the way that mining is powered? Do you see solar power or geothermal or other alternative sources of energy powering Bitcoin mining?
Yeah, of course, any large-scale miner will be hugely incentivized to find the cheapest source of power. I don't think it will be solar, but people are using hydroelectric power because that's a cheap source and often available in cooler countries, I think.
I know you're not interested in mining, but if you were to develop a Bitcoin mining operation right now, if you were going to try to beat all the competition and do something better, faster, that would mine more Bitcoins, how would you go about doing that now?
Well, we are trying to do that now. We're constantly developing new generations of chips, and that's the way where you can really improve things. And
so you think it's in the chips, and the size of the chips is going to get smaller and smaller?
Yes, it's in improving the physical implementation, improving it towards becoming less and less power hungry. And of course, it's about being always on the latest technology available. That means the smallest process node available. And besides that, a large miner, of course, has other ways to improve his efficiency and reduce cost, and depending on how he arranges his cooling, and if he maybe would be able to use the heat that is produced for some other purpose. Of course, you can think of if your miners already produce megawatts of heat, to use that to heat up water and use that for other purposes.
You're going to make a perpetual motion machine. No, just kidding.
If that was possible.
If that was possible, right. All right, well, Timo, thank you so much. Your company, CoinTerra, where can people find them online?
At www.cointerra.com.
Okay, thank you so much.